Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for joining me. Today we are celebrating all of the Aquarius people out there. I made a special doll just for you guys, and we are going to be using Abby Abominable as our base. I'm really excited about this because this is the first time I've ever worked on an Abby Abominable doll that I can remember. I don't think I've ever worked on one before, so I'm excited about the transformation. I do have to say it's probably going to be a little bit tricky. There's some new techniques that I want to try for her stand, so let's get into this and see what I come up with.
Just like I said in the intro, guys, I am working with an Abby Abominable for this custom, and I have never worked with one before. And I have to say it's probably because I never liked her face. Then I saw other customizers, you know, using her and making wonderful dolls out of her, and I was like, all right, I've got to get her face paint off and see what this doll actually looks like. And she is actually really pretty. So I was really excited to use this doll for the custom because of her blue skin. Aquarius ends in just a few days, and I wanted to make sure that I got this video up before the end of this sign. So I'm sorry it took me so long to get to her. My last custom took a little bit longer than I was hoping for, but now we are getting it done. So to prep the doll, as you saw, I just cut off all her hair. Then it's time to take off her head. I use the boiling water method. You can also use a hair dryer. I just prefer the boiling water. This is very dangerous. It is very hot. So if you decide to do the same thing, make sure that you use precautions and use a towel to pull the head off the neck peg. With the head pulled off, I go ahead and take my needle nose pliers and pull all the plugs that are left out of her scalp. Now this one was really nice because I can show you what the glue looks like. In our last custom there was barely any glue. This one there's tons. I think it's because she had that glitter hair in. So this one has plenty of glue, and you want to just take all of that stuff out of the neck hole. It's oddly satisfying and really gross and great at the same time. So if you like, I don't know, like pimple popping videos is kind of what I equate this to, because it's not great stuff. It's really nasty, but at the same time, oddly satisfying. Once all of the gunk is out of her head, it's time to go ahead and take off the makeup. Now, to remove her factory paint, I actually finally got this on video. You take 100% acetone and you just remove all of the paint. I remove all the paint from her eyes, from her head, from in between her lips. I just make sure you have to get it all off, because if there's any left over, it can kind of ruin a custom. Sometimes you really have to squish your doll's head into weird positions to get all of that factory paint off, because you, like I said, don't want any of it left behind. When the head is fully clean, make sure that you wash it with a little bit of soap and water, because you want to stop the acetone from working. Now with Abby's body, it's very sparkly. You can remove the sparkle, but it's not easy. The first thing I always try is to use acetone. The problem with acetone and these plastic bodies is it melts the bodies. In Abby's case, the glitter is so thick, it doesn't even reach the plastic when you use acetone. So my next, I guess, tool that I used was a nail file. It's like a nail buffer. This works, but it's difficult. You have to get into all the nooks and crannies because this body is very glittery. And then finally, when I get down to the plastic, I can use the acetone to smooth it out. It's not perfect in this situation, but I did the best that I could to remove all the glitter from her body. For this custom, I am doing a reroute. I got these nylon hairs from the Doll Planet on Etsy. I believe they do have a website as well called thedollplanet.com, but I purchased these hanks from Etsy. It suggested that I get these 2-ounce hanks, 2 of them for Monster High reroute. I did have some left over. It wasn't a lot, and I think I did use a little bit too much hair for this particular reroute, but this is actually the first reroute with nylon hair that I actually finished. So I was really proud of myself, and I'm excited to show you guys the process. The first step in doing any doll hair, either a reroute or using yarn wefts, is to paint the scalp. This is so if you have any chunks that don't cover the head, like the hair is a little bit patchy or it shows through, you don't want it to just show the scalp. You want it to be colored so it kind of hides those patches. The next thing you have to do is use a rerouting tool, which is what I just showed. Mine is just a needle that I cut with a pair of wire cutters, also very dangerous to do by yourself, do not recommend. And I put it inside of an X-Acto knife holder, and then you take the strands of hair, just a few. I think I used a little bit too much hairs. I could have used less in each plug, but then I fold it over my finger, slip it between the needle, and then stick it into the existing plugs. I have done a reroute where I made my own plugs, and the head was way too heavy because I just was poking holes all over the place, and that is not an option that you want to go with. So definitely use the existing plugs or holes to go ahead and put the hair in. Once it's done, it looks like this. I went ahead and put it up to get ready for the face up, but I did use Fabri-Tac glue to stick inside of the neck hole to make sure that the hair was secured, and let it dry for a few hours. To protect the hair for the face up, again, I put it up in that big ponytail, and then I go ahead and use a cloth to cover it up so that it does not get ruined by the sealant. Using straight pins, I go ahead and pin the cloth to the doll's head. I have not found that this ruins the doll's head or hair in any way, especially if you use the glue to secure the plugs into the neck hole. And I also use a cloth because it is reusable, trying to reduce my carbon footprint. With the hair all done, I go ahead and apply the sealant and get ready for the face up. In this video, I try as much as I can to remember to show you what pencils I'm using, so that way if you're shopping for yourself, you can go ahead and get the same pencils if that is what you're interested in. Also, the pencils that I use are linked down below in the description through my Amazon store. If you do purchase anything from my Amazon store, know that I do get a small commission that costs you nothing extra, but is greatly appreciated by me. When I do face ups, I always start with a light pencil to do a sketch. This is so that if I make any mistakes or don't like how it's looking, I can go ahead and erase without much trouble. If I started with black or a darker color, it could turn out that it stains the vinyl, so I like to start safe by using a lighter color. this custom, I wanted to be able to give her kind of a different kind of look because I wanted to embody what an Aquarius is, and that is strong, independent, defiant, very, you know, just, I don't know, an independent woman is all I think about when I think about Aquarius. So I wanted to give her like a side eye view so that she's looking off to the side, kind of in a smug way, or I can do it, or don't tell me I can't because I will sort of way. So that's kind of how I wanted her eyes to look. Also, I want to make a quick confession. I hate doing eyebrows. Every time I try to do an eyebrow, it doesn't ever seem to work out for me. I try to make them as symmetrical as possible, and I have this thing where I can't see in a straight line. Everything to me is off, or whatever is crooked looks straight to me. So anyway, I do my best to make symmetrical eyebrows. I really do. I knew this doll was going to have a lot of blue incorporated in her design, so I wanted to add a little bit of green in her eyes because I thought that that would match nicely. Every image of Aquarius that I've ever seen, she's surrounded by water, so anytime I think of Aquarius, I think blue, 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 blue. So I wanted to make sure that I got something that kind of contrasted all of that blue, and I thought a pop of green might just do the trick. When making your own custom doll, I can't stress enough how important it is to layer. Every layer helps the next layer, if that makes any sense. It probably doesn't, but when you build up a base, even if that color really isn't showing, this is only the first layer that I'm working on now, and it does look like the color is coming in pretty well, but some of the lighter colors might not show for you when you first start doing a custom, and it could be for a number of reasons. It could be the sealant having a bad day, which I am 100% a believer that that happens, or you know, maybe your pencil isn't the highest of quality, which is totally fine. In that case, layering is going to save your life. Doing this kind of art really is about patience, and by patience I mean it takes a while for your colors to build up, and that's okay, because if you were just to like lay it down, it wouldn't have as nice of quality as you want. I like using the watercolor pencils because it's got a very smooth finish, and especially if you use those layers, you know, putting down the light layers makes the color look more smooth in the end. So I cannot stress enough how important layering colors is, and putting down as much color as you can in those first couple of layers to help you build up to that final layer. And the same goes for your pastels. For me, the pastels I use are very pigmented, so I actually use a Q-tip to kind of smudge away all that dark color, because if I were to just leave it how it was and then spray it with sealant, it would stay that dark color, and that's not really the look I'm going for. I'm trying to make shadows, and you don't want those shadows to be so harsh, unless that's what you're going for. That's an artistic choice, but that's not the choice that I normally make. I want to make softer shadows. So when you're using your pastels or you're using your colored pencils, it's very important to see those light layers build up, which is worth all of the wait. It's here in this clip that I want to stress about the sealant having a bad day. Yes, 9 times out of 10 it's because we have no idea what we're doing. But sometimes I really do feel like the sealant has a mind of its own and wants to work whenever it feels like working. In this case, I find, as you can see with the black that I'm doing on her eye, it's not really, it's like a little bit chipped, or it's not going down correctly, or the face looks a little bit too shiny. It's probably because I did something wrong. I sprayed too close. But as you can see here, I've put another layer of sealant. The face looks a little bit more matte, then I know that my color is going to go on and it's going to fix that issue. So if you ever are frustrated because your color pencils are chipping off, just breathe. That's my advice. Seal it again, or erase whatever you think isn't going to look good or that you can't cover up in the next layer, but seal it again and then see if it works. The best way to seal, I find, is keeping the doll almost as far away from the sealant as possible, and then kind of just like misting it on, like spraying it over the face lightly so it just kind of like falls on the face, because you're just creating enough tooth for the pencil to stick onto. Okay, so it's this point in the process that I decided I absolutely hated this face up. I didn't like how it was turning out. I thought it looked muddy. I was just frustrated. The eyes weren't looking right. Everything was awful. So it's a really hard decision to make, but I made it. I just looked at this doll and was not happy. Could not see anyone purchasing her or putting her on the shelf. So I took off all her face. It was about 12 hours worth of work, and I just started over. And sometimes as an artist, when you're making something, that's all you can do. I did give the face a good look over, and I found things that I did like, and I found things that I wish I had done differently, so I decided to do that instead. And let me tell you, I'm so much happier for it. So don't be too sad. I promise the result is much better. And I'm really happy with my decision. Yes, it was a lot of time, but in that time, I learned a whole lot, and that's the point. If you're not learning, you're not growing. So in this instance, I really do think that I grew and I made a better art piece because of it. For this time around, I did a lot of things different. The first thing I did different was I sketched out her eyes with the white pencil. I don't normally do that, but I know that Scary Osities, I believe, does that, and I decided to take a page out of her book and go ahead and do that for this one because I wasn't liking how the eye shape was coming out. The second thing I did was use a lighter pencil. Sometimes if you use a darker base in your sketch, the result can be kind of muddy. So I didn't want that for this time around, so I used a lighter pencil. Also, the same with the eyebrows. I didn't like how dark the eyebrows looked, so instead I used the blue pencil to go ahead and give her a lighter base so her eyebrows didn't come out as dark. For her eyes, I still didn't want them to be blue, but I knew that I wanted them to be a color close that would also pop, so I decided on purple. I used the blue pencil again to sketch and make a nice light base so that I could build on top of it. I still wanted her lips to be natural, in air quotes, to this particular character, so I did keep them blue. Also, do not worry about the terrible blushing in her body. The blush came off with my angry, aggressive acetone, so it turns out okay in the end, I promise. I just didn't do the body first. I wanted to make sure that I got the face up done before I worried about the body blushing. guys a little bit of time and energy, I did go ahead and skip past some of the parts that you already saw. I used the same methods for blushing and applying the pencil as I did before. I just used a few different colors for the eyebrows and like I said, the sketch, but everything else was pretty much the same process that I had used before. I do want to talk a little bit about the pencil that I'm going to use here for her eyeshadow. This is a chalk pastel pencil. I do find that for eyeshadows and small details that you want to use your pastels for, a chalk pastel pencil works really well. In the end, guys, I really felt like this was a much better job than the first job I did. So to finish up the face up, I went ahead and used my nail dotting tool to add some shines to her eyes to kind of finish her off. And I really think she turned out a lot better. Now it's time to figure out her hair. Again, this is the first time I've ever used nylon hair to the end of a custom. I've rerouted a couple dolls but never finished them. So the first thing I had to do was take off her little wrap that she had on. Had to untangle that mess in the back with her bun. She had so much hair. But to get the hair to lay flat, I had to go ahead and pour boiling water over her head. Again, very unsafe. But in the end, it looked like this. And it kind of just like melts the hair down. And that was just me taking boiling water, and with the part where I wanted it, I kind of just poured it over her head. Do not mind my paint bottle. The stand was very wobbly. But I wanted to give her hair some volume, so I decided to take her hair and curl it up in some plastic straws. These are just my doll curlers. I don't actually use plastic straws. Again, carbon footprint. But these I use with bobby pins to curl up her hair. Then to get them to set, I pour them over with boiling water, then set it in cold water, then pour it in boiling water again. While we wait for those to dry, we're going to work on her stand. This is the most exciting part about this custom for me because I didn't know how I was going to do it. In the end, I decided that I got this tiny toothpick holder from an antique store, and I knew I wanted her to hold her pot like she does, or vase like she does in all of the Aquarius images. I took a doll stand, a normal straight doll stand, and melted it with a blow dryer. Again, very unsafe, but I used the blow dryer to heat up the plastic and bend it. Then I drilled a hole in the wooden base, and I attached the pot with some hot glue, and it ended up looking like this. I then took UV resin and kind of melted it down the stand, so in the end I got something that looked like this, and it ended up being absolutely perfect. I painted the base with some acrylic wash to give it that blue color, and I just loved how this stand turned out. So if you want to see a separate video on how I did that, please let me know in the comments below, and I will try my best to show you a video. Now here is where I am taking out the curls. I let them dry overnight so that way that they would be set. My goal for her hair was for it to be wavy, to kind of embody water. That's really what I wanted. So that is what I tried to accomplish with this look, and I think it really worked out. I love the two colors that I picked for her hair because I think it's just enough different kind of blue that it doesn't make the whole project look like a monopolized blue mess. So please let me know what you think about her hairstyle. This is where I brush out all those little ringlet curls to give it that wave, and I really like how it turned out. For her dress, I used an old dress to make a new pattern, and again, it is blue like water. And here is the finished doll with her dress, so all we have left are the final photos. I want to thank you guys so much for stopping by and taking the time out to watch these videos. I know they're really long, but this process is hard to do, so it takes time, and I really appreciate all of you who've subscribed. If you're not subscribed yet, please consider it. I want to make more videos like this, other tutorials. Let me know what you'd like to see. If you liked the video, at least please give it a thumbs up so other people can discover it, hopefully. And again, thank you guys so much. If you're interested in this doll, she is for sale in my Etsy shop. The link is in the description below. Thanks so much. Have a good one.